Welcome to Neighborhood Update. Today we will have an interesting conversation and show that I'm sure that you will enjoy. Today we are welcoming back members of the Commission for Citizens with Disability team. They are part of the Vaccine Connect network. With me today, this team is led by Pam Cole. I refer to you, Pam, as the church lady, but you do so much more in this community, and we'll be talking about that in a bit. And also with Pam is Lindsay Mello. Welcome, Lindsay, and welcome back, David Coleman. This team, this Vaccination Connect network, has been working now for more than a year under the direction of Kyle Alves from PACA. The network is led by Kyle Alves, and it aims to provide vaccine equity to the residents of New Bedford. This means that every group by age, language, nationality, or country of origin should know where to get a COVID-19 vaccine and be able to know where the free vaccination clinics are. Pam, welcome. As I noted in the introduction, you were here several months ago, and what we want our residents to know, even though we're not talking as much about COVID on the cable channel and within the news, it still is among us. But the good news is the education and outreach that has been taking place is working. So catch us up to speed on the past few months, your team, what you're doing, and the progress that has been made.
Well, I think the progress that has been made is that enough people have had vaccinations so that there is not as much serious disease and there's not as many hospitalizations or even deaths. We do have to look forward to the fall because there is some new variants that are out there, and so our team will be ready for that. And so there were a couple of vaccine clinics that we have been advertising or promoting, and people can be going to them this weekend and next weekend. We want to tell you about.
Okay. Would you also like to speak a little bit about your team, the team of individuals that you're working with?
Well, there's actually 4 of us on the team, and Marci Pina is not with us. We have an organization this year. We've done this for a year, so now we can getting organized. And so we each have a part, we each have a role to play, and we'll talk about it later. But Audra does a great deal of the clinics. If there are clinics that are going to have children's activities, she is there, and she's been there with your particular team, which is Human Relations, correct? Mm-hmm. And Giovanni, and then she also does a lot of walking in the community and giving out flyers to people she meets. Now David, and you'll hear about David does driving in the community because he's willing to park the car, jump out, run in, run out, get back in the car and keep going. So he does that work. And I do that with him sometimes. And then sometimes I work with Lindsay and we do house to house. So we have 3 different ways of meeting people. That's really our, and then we cooperate with other teams, because I did just want to mention that Coastline made these flyers for us, and we gave them out to several thousand people over the last winter, and they tell that if there are people at home that can't get out to a clinic, they can call and have someone come to their house. And I'll give you that phone number right now, 833-983-0485. And
what we love about that flyer is the message on the flyer as to why individuals should get the vaccine, because believe it or not, we know the data shows that there still are some individuals in our community who have not even received the first vaccine. And so would you read on that flyer? I could read that.
I didn't think you could see that from there. I'll read you what it says. Why get the COVID-19 vaccine? The COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective at preventing disease, severe illness, and death. So that's a summary.
And I could see it through the magic of television.
Oh, well, very good.
So today's conversation, I said earlier that this team is a team which stems from the Commission from Citizens with Disabilities, and we know that some members of your team are what I would like to call handy capable. And Audra certainly is one. We opened up the show with Lindsay Mello, who played a beautiful selection on the violin. And I think that just speaks to, we know these individuals as volunteers, but that's just one element of the great things that they are able to do and are doing within this community. So I'd like to kind of chat with each one of you about the other talents that you have besides the talent of giving back through volunteering. So Lindsay, let's begin with you.
Yes.
How long have you been playing the violin?
For 14 years or since 4th grade.
Awesome. And you play so beautiful, and what a lovely, beautiful violin.
Thank you very much.
That is. And I should mention that you are the granddaughter of George and Nancy Smith.
Yes, I am.
George Smith is a beloved individual within this community, farmer, city councilor for Ward 3, I believe. And he volunteers in so many capacities within this city. But recently, I know that your grandpa received a very special award. I believe it was Volunteer of the Year for Massachusetts, for the state of Massachusetts, from AARP. And I know he's watching today because I know he is so proud of you. So George, a special congratulations to you, and thank you for sharing your beautiful granddaughter with us today. So do you practice every day?
I do practice almost every single day to every day.
It shows.
Thank you.
It shows, and I know that we're going to hear more from you later in the show. David, let's segue to you. And you have a special hobby as well. But before we get to that, let's talk about your role with the Vaccine Connect and the special focus that you have in the outreach.
Okay. As Pam mentioned, I'm the one that drives around and goes to places all throughout New Bedford. And in fact, over here we can see a map of generally the area we cover. In fact, it's a little bit larger than this, but as you can see, there's a couple of areas here that we have some sticky pads that show blocks that we identify that may not be covered by general outreach, but we want to make sure that we can cover every place in New Bedford that we need to. So within these blocks, we assign individual team members or groups of team members to cover streets in these areas. And so it's going to be in various places that would make sense for the different events and clinics that we're trying to get the information out to.
And I'm glad you brought that today, because I think it's important for people to see that this outreach is very well organized. We still, under the leadership of Kyle Alves, we still meet daily and have phone conversations on, what's going on in the city, anything that's spiking, how we're progressing. But what I love about this is it shows that no stone is being left unturned. We really are making sure that we get to every resident within the city. And as I said, it's making a difference because, yes, people will say, well, you can get the vaccine and you're still going to get COVID. Of course you're going to still get it,
Right.
but you're going to survive. People aren't dying and they're not getting deathly ill. And so that
is key, absolutely.
That's the key. That is the key.
Now, if I may, if you don't mind, there's one other thing that I do as part of the team, and I put door hangers at the different houses or different places in which they have the handicap parking, so that for people that have mobility issues, they can call the number. In fact, the number was also told by Pam earlier, so that they can schedule to have vaccination done at their home. And so that's something we want to make sure that we get out there. And also, we put together a list so we're aware of all the people in the area too that have mobility issues, and we can help them out a little bit better from our team.
Awesome. That's great. Pam, tell us something about you. We know about all your many volunteer initiatives, but what are some of the things that you enjoy when you're not working so hard in the community?
Well, I noticed that in the hall of this studio is one of the most famous maps of New Bedford that's ever been done.
Really?
It was done in 1876. And so I wanted to talk about that because here you see we do organize according to the maps. So this older map is very interesting. I think I have one sample with me here.
I just
See
want
here,
to
look at
add that
this.
I know that history, you are a history buff, and I know that every time I run into you after the greeting, it's usually followed by, "Did you know?" So I'm not surprised at that. So tell us about this map.
Well, this map, I'm not sure how they did it because I don't think that somebody could have stood or been in a blimp. Did they stand in the Fairhaven shore to take this aerial map way back in 1876, or did someone painstakingly draw each house?
That's interesting.
So you can blow it up. It can be blown up. The best place to see it, besides coming down to the hallway of the cable access station, is to go to the National Park. They have it at the size of a wall.
Okay.
But you can't get up and see the middle of it until you get up on a stepladder. And I took a stepladder down there last night before I came here.
Not surprised that you
and
did.
it had closed 5 minutes before. So I didn't get up on the stepladder to take the picture for you. So I brought
that's
these.
probably a good thing that you didn't, because I think you have a bad knee or a bad
I do.
leg
So
or ankle.
that's another problem that, Audra and I make a lot of jokes because Audra can't see and I can't walk fast. So between the two of us, we get the job done. And the same with Lindsay. Lindsay has so much more energy and strength than I do that we can go out together and give flyers out in house to house.
Well, and that's why I use the word handy capable, and I think that's a message to other residents that everybody in this community can do something, and all of you are a wonderful example of through the work that you're doing.
So just let me show one more picture of the map.
Okay.
This is a close-up, and this is how big the Arnold estate was, where Wamsutta is today. So Orchard wasn't cut through then. Orchard must have gone right through Arnold, because remember he made the Arnold Arboretum in Boston, and he wanted to make it here. And so this was been here where he was so interested in plants. And then the courthouse was there then, and that's the courthouse. And just last week they announced it was the anniversary of Lizzie Borden's trial in our courthouse here. And there's the big Unitarian church.
Wow.
And there's, very quick, I'll show you a couple other buildings that you can that are so large on this map. One is St. Lawrence Church, and I've got the parking lot was still there just as it is today, so I marked that. And then City Hall, of course, City Hall was the library then. So the beautiful library that takes this whole block used to be City Hall, and then City Hall was just the library, and it was small, but they've taken that down, and that now takes up that whole block. So these are people can go to the National Park and take pictures of their own neighborhoods. Yeah, so
That's great. Well, thank you for that bit of history. So I know there is a strategy with your team, because knowing you, you are all about organization and order. So how do your team members work together? Who does what? What's the strategy?
Well, David does businesses because he drives to them, and he also does all the homes he has found almost every home in New Bedford that has a sign out in front, a blue sign that says handicap parking. Now, there is no list in the city. And when he's done, and he's almost done, you started at Freetown, the Freetown line, and
Right,
you
all
came
the way
down
up
every
there.
single street
Been working
and made
down.
it's
That's
got
amazing.
a spreadsheet, and you're
amazing.
down to
I'm down to past Allen Street, so I'm going there and down to the south. And so I'd say I'm about 2/3 the way through the whole city at this point. So I've made pretty good progress.
That's pretty amazing.
So when-
and Lindsay,
Well,
Yes.
Lindsay, what do you do for the team?
I go door to door. I pass out flyers and sometimes door hangers, and sometimes we talk with people about the benefits of COVID vaccines and also about events that they're hosting at the vaccine clinics. And if I may list an example of like what
Sure,
we've done,
absolutely.
there's a company named Atlas, and the manager was about generators and electrical concepts, and he was talking about his business a little bit. He was an older man. That's like one of the examples. If you would like more, I would be able to provide a couple more, but I will just stick to that example for now for the sake of time.
Okay, and I see that you're wearing your t-shirt, Vaccination Connect, and so that's outreach. Just wearing that everywhere you go, people know what your purpose is and what you're doing. So thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for the opening of that beautiful selection that you played. And would you play another selection for us? Bravo, Lindsay. That was just beautiful. You played that so nicely. Thank you so much. Can you tell us the name of that piece?
The name of the piece was Air on the G-String by Johann Sebastian Bach.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Wow. Where do we go from there? Probably going to get one more out of you after that.
Talk to David.
David, let's get back to you.
Okay. Well, I guess I can talk about one thing I do in my spare time. I like to play with stamps and postal history. And what postal history is, it's I guess a tracing of the routes and travels of mail as it goes from when it's sent to its destination. And today I would like to show a cover, which is what we call an envelope that has a message in it, that has gone from Portugal to Nome, Alaska in 1900.
Oh.
But it took about 2 months to get to its final destination, which wasn't Nome, Alaska. And what the cover looks like is this. This is the cover. So as far as the cover, It doesn't look too exciting, I guess. It has a bunch of markings on it, but this is showing the travels that it's had
Wow.
all the way through that 2 months in 1900.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like to talk to that. So here is an envelope, which is called a cover, that may appear to be nothing special, as I mentioned. It's marked up a bit, but it's very interesting to me. It started this journey from Aveiro, Portugal, June 9th of 1900, and was initially destined for Nome, Alaska. Affixed was a 65 Reese postage stamp from Portugal to pay the entire trip cost. One of those things that I wonder about, who were the sender and recipient, and why was this envelope sent? Perhaps about fishing, since Nome is way up north on the Alaska coast, or maybe it was gold exploration, because as the Yukon gold rush was happening about this time, and maybe there was geological advice from the professor. It was sent from Professor Carlos Hugo Richter from Aveiro, Santa Nova, Portugal, 1900. You can see from the backside that sometimes the return address was on the back. With multiple hand stamps covering the back flap, maybe the message was private, because to secure it in, so if somebody tried to open it up, you could see that. There are many postal hand stamps on the cover backside showing multiple places traveled on the way: New York, Seattle, Nome, an indicator it went through London. Something that amazes me about this cover is it took about 2 months to make it to its final destination, which was New York City. It originally was sent to Nome, Alaska, but it went from Portugal to Nome, then it was redirected back to New York City, probably because the recipient, Henry G.D. de Helle, was not in Nome and had the mail forwarded to New York City. It went from Portugal, June 22nd, 1900, via London, England, by ship, via New York, and then the ship to Nome, Alaska. It took a long time to get there, but then went back to Seattle and went across on a train to New York City, about 2 months in transit, getting there on August 7th of 1900.
Wow, that's amazing. So how long have you been doing stamp collecting in this hobby?
About forever, since I was about in, I'd say, 3rd grade.
Really? So
Yeah.
what inspired you? How did you?
Well, funny enough, my dad on Saturdays would sometimes drop me off at a local stamp dealer. That stamp dealer started employing me to help him identify good stamps. And what did he do? At the end of the day, he paid me in stamps. I was in heaven. And that was how the bug got me. It's been
And
with me
that's
ever since.
That's amazing. And so I would imagine that you're connected with stamp collectors
Oh,
all
yeah.
over the country, world.
Yeah, we have a local club in Fall River,
Oh.
and there's lots of stamp clubs and places they have shows that are in Massachusetts and local areas. And with the internet, you can connect with anybody. So it's very alive, believe it or not.
That's great. And Pam, do you want to jump in?
Well, if you wouldn't mind, because we do want to mention the events that are coming up.
Okay.
That this is why we go around and talk about them. The one that, of course, David has been giving them out in Portuguese as well as in Spanish. We give them out in at least 3 languages.
And that's the equity that we spoke
That's
of,
what
making
equity
sure
means,
that
yeah.
everybody is getting the same information.
And you know what David also did that he didn't mention? He went to all of the every house in Plainville. And he took some of the streets that are off the beaten track in New Bedford where people wouldn't necessarily have a clinic in their neighborhood. So this is at the former Fire Station 11 down on
Okay.
754 Brock Ave, and it's on Mondays and Saturdays. And we'll put this in the credits.
And then
this
you
one
have something
we
here?
have. This is the the big Guatemalan festival at Riverside next Saturday afternoon, August 27th. And there will also be a Vax clinic there, but there'll be food and music and Guatemalan dress and opportunities to actually buy.
I've actually, we brought the cable cameras to past festivals, and it's a wonderful, wonderful event.
So for the south end, the former fire station, and that's what the 2 dots are mostly, and to the north end is Riverside. So thank you for letting us come. And we do also have test kits. You could call PACA if you needed a test kit. That people can have a couple of
There
test
is an
kits.
abundance of test kits available. All you need to do is ask or call, and they will be made available to you. And as Pam noted, at most events that we're doing within the city, Vaccine Connect tries to have a presence there, which is great.
Neighborhood festivals.
Right. Well, thank you all again for stopping back. And Lindsay, how about if we end the show with another selection? That concludes our show. I hope you enjoyed today's show, the information, and the performance. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Neighborhood Update.